answer questions at the end. So thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you guys giving us your time. I'm going to share my screen. There you go. And then let me know if you can see that, Will. Can you see
We
that?
got it. Yep.
Perfect. Perfect. I love it so much. All right, let's get to it. So, we're talking about the power of podcasting, tools for change and influence. If you are new here, looking forward to helping you guys on your personal brand story and strategy. And that's what we do here at Leduc Entertainment is we help people with their personal brands through a three-prong approach, which I'm going to get into right now. So before we get started, look, the biggest pain point that I see with most people when it comes to social media and putting themselves out there is the fact that they're struggling with imposter syndrome. And so I want you guys to keep in mind that your opinion matters, your perspective matters. The things that you've gone through that have brought you to the place where you are at right now is valuable. And if you can share your story, and if you have the courage enough to share your story and help people through that process, you're going to go out and impact the world. And are you going to make money in the process? Sure. Yes, you will. But that's not the point of this, right? The point that what I'm trying to do with my time these days is to help people like you, visionary CEOs, people that have a story to tell, to help them understand that their opinion matters and that they don't have to live with imposter syndrome and that they can live their authentic life and share content on social media that resonates with their followers and their target audience so that they can go out and impact and create a difference, right? And make money while you're doing it. So, that's my thing on imposter syndrome, and I'll talk more about that as we go. But I want to talk about lots of misinformation when it comes to social media. Look, if you're just starting out, if you've been in it for a while, it's not your fault in terms of what is real and what's not real. And, there's stories about algorithms, there's the myths about when you should post and how you should post and all of this stuff. What we're going to do is we're going to unpack these myths and false beliefs so I can help you with the perspective that I have and the people that I've been able to help through this process. And I'll share those stories. And if they resonate, great. If there's things that you can take, please do take it, steal it, use it for yourself so that you can be the person that you need to be in order to create impact. And I'm going to keep saying that because I really want to drill that into the message of the day is that you are here to create an impact. And if you're struggling with finances, if you're struggling with you don't know what to do, if you're struggling with overwhelm, if you're struggling with all of these different things, what we're going to learn today is not necessarily going to solve all those problems, but what it will do is it will create a space for you to be who you need to be in order to be more free, be happier, and share the stories that are going to go out there and, like I said, impact the world. So I'm going to give you guys the keys to attracting these high quality clients. And this is a system that I call content into clients. You've probably seen the trailer out there that we did. We did a movie for it, a movie trailer, which was really, really funny. If you haven't seen it, I'll send it to you. So anyway, as a result, I've been able to 10x my business in 2 years. We've helped over 100 CEOs find their voice. And you look, we work with 8 and 9 figure businesses all the time. We work with really high net individuals. And we've taken, success leaves clues. And we've taken the approaches and things that they're doing, and we've put it all together in a comprehensive package so that you can do it as well and reap the rewards. Here's my backstory. Meet 30-year-old Mondo. You could call him 20-year-old Mondo too. Clueless, broke, alcoholic, pothead. I was broke. That's hard-headed, know-it-all. I told you I was broke. Did I mention I was broke? I declared bankruptcy early. God, I made so many mistakes. And so look, there was things I wanted, right? I wanted wealth and a direction in my life and stability, to make my family name proud and to be proud of myself and to make money and all of these different things. And what happened was that I was throwing spaghetti on the wall, and that's no pun intended because I have a podcast called Spaghetti on the Wall. But I was throwing things at the wall, and I was trying out all of these things. And I think that that's what you have to do in your 20s anyway, to really figure out and go through that journey. But what I didn't have that I wish I did was the mentorship that I needed to, as I went through that journey, to have more fun with that process. And I struggled a lot for no reason, because there are things out there and there were strategies out there that could have helped me be where I wanted to be. And so, in the process, look, I was a singer, I was an actor, I was a bartender, and, I had over 75 jobs in my life, and nothing was necessarily fulfilling to me, right? Which is why I wanted to start my own thing. I wanted to start my own business. And so I started my production company, and we did a movie called Bourbon Whisk, which is on YouTube. It's The Wizard of Oz meets Bourbon Street. And I thought I was going to be a famous director. And I ended up moving to LA, and it wasn't what I expected. Chewed me up, spit me out. But what I did know is that I really wanted to come back to Louisiana and make my movie, and I did. I made my movie, and I thought I was going to be a movie producer. I ended up selling my movie door to door, business to business, in DVD format. I got about 1,000 DVDs, and I just sold them door to door. And so nobody wanted to hire a company called Sketchy Characters Productions. So I rebranded to Leduc Entertainment in 2019 or 2020, 2016. And that year I made a whopping negative $1,900, which was awesome. So the villain in this story is somebody that I know very well, which was myself. I was the villain in my own story. I was uneducated. I was self-sabotaging myself. And I was blaming everyone but myself. I didn't have any operating capital because I didn't have any authority. I didn't have a direction. And so because I didn't have a direction, the only thing that I really could rely on was my hustle. And so come 2019, early 2019, I had a baby on the way. COVID happened. I was a one-man show running, doing everything I could. And obviously COVID shut everything down. And that year I had made $19,000, which is nothing if you want to try and raise a family. So I was having mounting debt. I was broke, depressed, anxious, trying to figure it out. And success leaves clues. And I just started posting on social media, not about my problems, but just about what I did and how I helped and all of that. And so I had the courage to start putting myself out there. And one of my biggest clients and friend from high school, he came onto my podcast at the time, and I just like, you know what, I want to bring you on and talk about how you became so successful, because he had a at the time $40 million law firm in Atlanta called Bader Scott, personal injury firm. And I brought him on. Soon after, he has the idea to come up with a company, not because of my podcast, but because he had this idea, and he called it Eight Figure Firm, and he was teaching other attorneys how to scale their businesses to 8 figures. And I was like, okay, wow. So something was happening. I saw that he started working with a client, Audrey Chisholm, who's a nonprofit attorney. And I saw that he took her business from $700,000 a year to 2.4 million in 6 months. And he said, Armando, you have $1 million business. And I was like, yeah, sure. I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, no, you can get there. You just don't know how. You don't know what you don't know. And so I said, well, what are you talking about? And he's like, look, I can mentor you for $2,500 a month, which was like, what are you saying? He's a lot more expensive these days, but at the time it was $2,500 a month, which was way past what I could afford, obviously, with the money I was making. And so he said, I could give you this information for free, but you won't value it. And one of the biggest things that he's always said is the speed of growth in your business is tied to the speed of implementation. And so I said, all right, let's start working together. And he starts going over mainly like the mindset, right? And it was the first thing that we had to switch in what my relationship was with money, how I viewed sales, how I viewed my business. And once I changed this, my first month working with him, I brought in $30,000. Not to say that this is normal, but I'm just saying that the capacity was there, right? And the belief system that it's abundant and that there's enough business out there, and that I just needed to change my mindset. I was like, okay, all right, I'm in there. I'm there with you. And so I started cutting my limiting beliefs and I started taking action. And as I took action, I started noticing that I was implementing all of these growth strategies that he was putting together along with. So he was telling me all about the operational end of things and sales. And then because I was doing content for him, I started noticing and unpacking how content marketing, how personal branding, how all of these things working together really can grow the business. And so we started looking, and I said, I had an epiphany one day where I was like, what we're doing here is we're not growing and branding a business, because most businesses have a valuation. I just got back from this exit planning institute where it's all about mergers and acquisitions and selling the business. And valuations of a business, it's concrete, right? Like, hey, this is how much this business costs. This is what, it's projected to make. And that's how they sell the business. But as I'm noticing 2024 and 2025 and what these trends are starting to tell me on social media is that people are connecting with a personality more than they are a business. And to give you proof of that, if I ask you right now, who invented Coca-Cola, who was the inventor of it, who ran that company, you probably couldn't tell me, and you probably don't care, right? What does that mean? That means that nobody is really intrinsically attaching themselves to a brand that is a business. What are they attaching themselves to? They're attaching themselves to a person, a personality. And that in turn gets us to buy the product. Exhibit A, Flo from Progressive, Jake from State Farm, all of these different personalities, they personify the brand, the business brand through a person, because people are going to connect with the person. And all of these epiphanies started happening. Boom, 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 boom. I was like, okay, so what we really need to do here is we really need to focus on somebody's personal brand first, because your name will never change. You may go and sell your business. You may buy another business. You might, there's going to be a lot of things that you do in your life. And what I always tell people is what they do is not who they are. What does that mean? If you're a personal injury attorney, you are not a personal injury attorney. What you do is personal injury, but who you are is something different. And the problem with the United States, in terms of how we think about attaching ourselves to what we do, is really causing us a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, because what happens is if you do end up retiring, or if you do end up selling your business, or maybe your business goes under and it doesn't work, what happens is you've attached yourself to that business, and therefore you rely completely on it defining you. And that's not what we do here at Leduc Entertainment, right? What we do here at Leduc Entertainment is we're going to focus on you first. And what is it that lights you up? And what is the things that motivate you and that you're passionate about? And the reason why you wanted to start a business in the first place, and why you want to help people, and the impact you want to create. And when we're operating from that perspective, everything else starts to open up. The longevity of building a personal brand is a lot easier because it's more fun, because we're talking about something that you're passionate about. And so I want you to think about and start putting it in your mind, and start changing the mindset when it comes to how we're marketing our businesses, and how we can do that through you being the personal brand. And so our three-prong approach here is customer journey mapping, podcasting, and then organic social media. And this is all about creating an authority brand that is likable, trustworthy, has credibility. Because when it comes down to the point of the sale, can I convert the prospect into a client, is going to be based upon the question of, do I believe that you are the one that can solve my problem? And if I don't have enough evidence to 100% believe that you are the person, I'm not going to sign up for your services. I don't care if you're a personal injury attorney, family law attorney, plastic surgeon, whatever. And so we have to think about building a brand in order to do all of the pre-selling, all of the authority building, so that when somebody comes in, and here's the thing, when you create all of that authority and branding, that in turn will create more leads and more prospects coming to you because you're going to attract that. But more importantly, when they get to that step where it's the sales intake and you want to convert them, it's going to be a lot easier if they already know you. They've seen your face. They know what you're about. They know what you like. And that's why you're creating the social media content. So when we're talking about the misinformation of social media, don't worry about the algorithm. Don't worry about when you should post. Don't worry about what you should post. You should really focus on what is the one thing that you want to talk about, and then just go deep into that. And if you do that enough, you're going to find your tribe and you're going to find the people that want to work with you. So let's dive into how the transformation will happen for you. I don't know the journey that you will take, so my journey is different, but I will tell you about my results. The result of doing this, I have up to this point 150 episodes of my podcast, Spaghetti in the Wall. I've had amazing guests who have opened the doors for other opportunities. Pat Lencioni, who's an author, Gino Wickman, Joey Coleman, people like that like have introduced me to other people. And there's a book by Dan Sullivan called 10X is easier than 2X. And that's really going to happen in the podcasting portion of this. And I'll show you how this all works. Look, I get invited to exclusive events and, and I'm continuing to exponentially grow my business. And I'm not saying this to brag. I'm just telling you what you can expect as a transformation to you once you start creating content and once you start putting this stuff into place, because you will transform into a completely different person 6 months from now. Right. And I can talk to you about my clients' results as well. These are just 3 of them. Craig Green, Work Injury Rights Haunted History Tours, where we've done podcasts for them. We do their organic social, and they've seen engagement increase by 60 to 80% working with us, especially with high quality videos, but more importantly, the strategy behind it. So external achievements, I got the pleasure of being able to sing at the Superdome in New Orleans, and that was as a result of posting on social media some videos of me singing with my Latin band. Somebody saw my video, said, "Hey, I need a Latin singer for a gig that we got going on in Superdome." And they would have never thought of me had I not been posting consistently. And so I got that opportunity, and I brought my wife with me, and it was amazing. I get to go on vacations, blah, 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 blah. I hate really talking about all of the achievements because I really want to talk about the impact more than the achievements that I have. But I know it's important to people to know, hey, does this stuff work? And yes, it does. It works a lot. So these are the 3 secrets: customer journey mapping, podcasting, content for social media. That's our process. So let's talk about secret number 1, and that's content for your customer journey. What is a customer journey? Well, it is how somebody is interacting with your company from when they find out about you. So your marketing channels, you may have a billboard, you may do social media, you may do podcasting, referrals is a big, networking groups, however people find out about your services, those are your marketing channels. Then what we do is we go and figure out, okay, you have all of these services that you offer. And here's the biggest mistake that business owners make is that they think that they need to overload a prospect with everything that they do. And I call it the fire hose effect. If you overwhelm them with all of your services, they're not going to buy. They're going to be confused. They don't know what you do. So what we do is we come in and we go, okay, these are all of your services. Think about which one is the flagship product or the flagship service that you offer. And then everything else you can, once they're in the door, then you can upsell. But if you're trying to make them drink from that fire hose, it's not going to work. So what's the pipeline? Great. We figure out that that's the flagship product. Then from there, we go, okay, how are we getting them to take the call to action, which is call you, send you a message, go to the website, sign up for the form, maybe sign up for the webinar. How do we get them into the first part of it? And what touch points do we have to create at those moments? And then we like to create those touch points with videos because it's a lot more effective in conversion. So then we bring them to the point of the sales process, right? Could be a webinar, could be a sales call, whatever. And then we also map out, okay, how long is a sales cycle? Is it 2 weeks? Is it 2 months? Is it 6 months? Sometimes a sales cycle could be that long. So how are we staying in touch with those prospects in a valuable and meaningful way so that we can convert, right? So we map that out and we go, okay, at this point, they need this video. At this point, they need this video. And we map it out for however long that sales cycle is and however many touch points they need to get them to convert. Once they convert into a client, then we have a whole nother set of touch points where it's like the Domino's pizza tracker. Hey, we're making your pizza. Hey, it's in the oven. Hey, we're cutting it up. Hey, we're putting it in a box. Hey, it's on the way to you. Same thing for your business. What are the phases that people are going through? And people often overlook this whole section because they take it for granted that they know it. And if you don't get granular about how it is that you do things and how it is that you provide your service in an educational way, you may be pissing off your clients. And I'll tell you how that happened to us. So we were scaling super fast. Operations were out of whack. We didn't understand how to fulfill the deliverables and the quality went down. So in probably about 3 days, I lost $30,000 in retainer-based business overnight. And I couldn't get my clients to pay their invoices. I was getting bad reviews. I was getting angry clients. And then I had 2 choices to make. I could fire everybody, or I could really focus on how am I delivering the product and how is my customer service. And so when we changed that and we really started to be intentional about how we interact, what are the touch points, what do they need to know, then I was able to really collect on these emails, collect on the invoices, keep clients longer, referrals went up. And it also gave clarity to us internally so that we could delegate appropriately. So if you guys haven't spent time on your customer journey, I highly recommend that you sit down and we can help you with that too. If you need some guidance, but sit down and really map that out. You're going to have some epiphany and light bulbs going off, and you will change your business and you will change your referrals. And in so your revenue will go up. So I also, not only with the touch points of letting them know where they are in the process, we also like to talk about the 5 love languages, which are acts of service, gift giving, quality time, touch, and words of affirmation. And so when you think about the touch points and incorporating ways that the client wants to feel, if gift giving is a huge love language for them and you send them a gift, they're going to remember you. Or if there's an acts of service, leaving them a Google review, sending them a referral, listening to them do a sales pitch, like listening to them talk about some problems that they have. So those are acts of service. Quality time, invite them out to a golf game, invite them to your podcast, which we'll talk about here in a second. Words of affirmation. And look, I have clients that love to hug it out. I love it. You know what I mean? Be appropriate. Uh, but I always incorporate these 5 love languages in our touch points as many times as I can. And that's going to help with connecting on a deeper level so that you guys can keep the customers that you have. Retention is going to go high and referrals are going to go up, but not because of those things, right? Like, I don't want you guys to think about, oh, I'm going to do those things and the outcome is going to be that. I want you to do those things because you want to do those things. I want you to think about, I want to do those things because I really want to connect with my people. And when you think about it in those terms, what happens at the end is over here in New Orleans, we call lagniappe. It's bonus, right? Those things are just going to happen naturally. There's a really good book on the subject called The Go-Giver. Highly recommend that book. So here's the results, right? I know you guys want to talk about results, and I'm here for it. So we've been able to increase our revenue by 35% as a result of our customer journey touch points being where they need to be so that people understand what they're getting, right? We have 70 plus Google reviews. We don't have to chase down money. Clients are happy. Customer retention is at an all-time high and referrals are going up. So guys, I can't stress how important it is to sit down and map out your business journey for your clients. Here's a case study of my boy Lewis. When we first started with him, he had a lack of confidence when he first started. If you go back and you see his first videos compared to the videos now, he's a completely different person. And that's going to happen with you too, but you have to get started with the content. You have to get started with doing the content and taking action on creating. And so part of the follow-up strategy for us here, if you're on in this call, we've got a 7-day challenge where we're going to help push you into creating content for yourself so that you can start experiencing it. I think once you get the first one out of the way and you see that it's not as hard as you're making it out to be, it's going to be a lot easier to do, right? He also talked about time constraints being a problem. He's a very busy person. Batch create the content. 1 day a month, you can take 6 to 8 hours and shoot everything that you need to do for that month, right? Put it in a Google Drive. And then when you're ready to post those videos. And then that way you can get really prepared for that 1 day, because it is not realistic to think that you are going to want to post, that you're going to want to create content on a daily basis. You're going to want to post content on a daily basis, but it's not until you get to that point where it's just part of what you do. I would always recommend batch creating this content, right? And then volume of content is going to be a lot easier for you if you think about batch creating this content. So if you're thinking about that and you're going, oh man, I don't have the confidence to do it, just go in there, start working on it. It's going to be fine. You're going to start loving it. You will be a different person 6 months from now if you get started. Time constraints, batch create the content 1 day a month, and then create all of the content that you need for that month. Okay. So rolling into secret number 2, podcasting for profit. And so this is the game changer, guys. I know customer journey is a game changer, but this is also the thing that's going to get those results that you want. What do I mean? We always talk about the 10x is easier than 2x. Dan Sullivan talked about this book. Time is finite. It's one resource that we don't have in bulk. And so if we're not using our time wisely, then we're wasting time. And so I was like, through the process of me creating my podcast, I developed the epiphany. Oh my God, the podcast has been the greatest content source for us, has been a good relationship builder for us, an amazing business development tool for us. And we've been able to meet amazing people, strategic partners that have given us hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of referral business. We've been able to, I've been able to increase my social currency as a result of bringing in some high level people, because it's like, wow, you got Gino Wickman on your podcast. That means you have clout. That means you have a high social currency. And if that's the case, then I also can, my ability to get into opportunities that are at a higher level increase dramatically as a result. So what I want you guys to think about is, how can I create a podcast that lights me up inside, right? And I don't want you to create a podcast in the hopes of bringing in money, right? That's not what you want to do. You want to create a podcast that you can talk about what it is that you love to talk about. I don't care what it is: relationships, traveling, marketing, business, leadership, mindset, foodie, gaming, aliens, like whatever it is that you are super passionate about. You're going to start to find other business owners and other referral partners that love that thing too. And you can bring them on your show to talk about that one thing. And here's the beautiful part. It doesn't become salesy. It's just, it becomes a conversation. And because you're passionate about what it is that you're talking about, people are going to tune in. The problem with most podcasts is that you're thinking about who's going to watch it, what's the purpose. I need it so that I can make money, or I need it so I can create content, instead of, let's reframe it, And I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to say it a few more times. You have to think about the one thing that you're passionate about. And it's going to take some digging. And here's the thing. You won't want to talk about that thing because you're afraid to let people know that this is the thing that you're into, right? Letting your freak flag fly, so to speak. And I urge you to think about those things that you really love to talk about as the differentiator for you in your business or in your niche, right? So I know we work with a lot of attorneys, but if you're a personal injury attorney and you're looking for that differentiator because, it's a red ocean and there's so much competition, the differentiator is you. And the differentiator is the things that you offer and your experience and the things that you love. And if you can create a podcast around that, and then you invite people to talk about what their passionate thing is and your passionate thing, now we're playing in a whole different arena. The energy of this whole podcast changes. And I've seen this real time with our clients when we advise them on, hey, you have to think about the one thing that you're passionate about. We need to talk about that. Well, why is that? Why should we be doing that? It's not making any money. We need to do marketing for the business. I said, trust me. I promise you, if you trust me, I'll take you to the promised land. I promise. Let's focus on the things that light you up. Okay. And we do. And the podcasts are 100% different. You can see that there's a light in them. It lights them up. They're talking differently. The tone is different. The conversation's different. The conversations don't lag. They're never at a loss of what to talk about. It just flows naturally because that's what they love to talk about. So I know I went into that a little deep, but I really want to nail that down. Like if there's anything that you can take away from this one podcast, a webinar, I should say, is the fact that you need to figure out that one thing. And what is that flagship? And then surround everything that you do business-wise, marketing-wise, content-wise around that one thing. Okay. But like, look, my problems with my own podcast at the very beginning was, I was dabbling in it. I had no direction and I wasn't consistent, right? Like I would post here, then I wouldn't post. Then I'd post again, then I wouldn't post. I didn't distribute correctly, and I felt like podcasting was a waste of time. I was doing it for the wrong reasons. And so when I changed my perspective on it, and when I started talking about the things that drove me and the things that I wanted to talk about, and as I bring people on to my podcast to talk about the things that light them up, completely changed. And so, our podcasting strategy is definitely, picking one day a month. And what we do is we'll come in at 8 a.m. At 9 a.m., there'll be a guest from 9 to 9:30 or 9 to 9:20. I would say do a 20-minute podcast when you're first starting, and then you can increase it. And then have a Q&A session after that for you to use on your social media. Then at 10 o'clock, another podcast guest, 11 o'clock, another podcast guest, noon, take a break, 1 o'clock to 3, do your customer journey videos. And then the rest of the time you can work on doing Q&A videos. And at the end of the day, you should have around 100 to 150 pieces of content. So that's the podcasting strategy. Obviously, results, we have over 200,000 listeners, over 100,000 plays. I've been able to invite well-respected guests. 70% of our clients have come from the podcast. Actually, it's 80% now. 8 of my top referral partners have come from my podcast. And one of my podcast guests referred me $360,000 in business. And I'm going to add that here too. We are in the top 5% in global listeners for any podcast out there. Top 5% global podcasts. So fun times. Okay. So that's my deal on podcasts. Here's another case study. Brett Thomas didn't think social media worked, didn't have the resources, also had a fear of failure. We started working together, and within 6 months, he tripled his income, actually. So once again, I'm not saying that that's going to be you. You are on your own journey. However, this stuff works, okay, if you do it right. All right, and now we're into secret number 3, social media content. And this is organic social. This is not paid social. There's a place for paid social. I highly recommend that you do that, but not until you build the brand. Because if you first work on just putting an ad out and you're like, I'm just going to sell, I'm going to sell, I'm going to sell, what happens? Remember, I told you when it comes to that sales point and it goes from, hey, I want to turn you into a customer. Are they going to believe that you are the person? Well, if you do enough organic social and you building that personal brand ahead of time, then that's going to answer those questions, right? And what you're going to do is you're going to put together videos with your podcast, inviting people there, doing case studies, getting video testimonials, putting out content where you're answering questions, setting yourself up as the authority, and you're doing that on a consistent basis. Then when you put out an ad, now you're skyrocketing, right? But you cannot start putting out ads first, because who cares if you get 200 plus leads in a month that aren't converting because they don't trust that you are the person that can get them where they need to go. So please work on your branding and personal branding first, and then start putting ads in, and then obviously keep the train rolling with the organic social, but that should work in tandem and not separate. So our problem at the very beginning when we were sort of approaching our social media was that, we weren't posting daily. We weren't posting consistently. We didn't know how to post, when to post, what to post. And so, ended up going to social media marketing world, read a lot of books, talked to a lot of experts. And so we figured out the best ways as of right now, 2024. But the good thing about our company is that we try to stay ahead of trends and seeing what happens and where we need to be, which is why personal branding is the future and what you need to be working on and focusing on. So, but we batch create the content. This way we never run out of content, and we post 2 to 5 times a day across all platforms. And so our strategy for you is, batch create the content, obviously post every day with vertical videos, reels, TikToks, for now until it changes. 80% of your content should be Q&A. 20% of your content should be actual call to action. I post fun and engaging content, stay on brand with whatever it is that you're talking about. The one thing that I was telling you about, sticky headlines. There's a really good book that you guys should read. It's called, How to Write Copy That Sells. And it is so good in terms of coming up with headlines, in terms of coming up with like sticky topics that people are like, man, what is this? My curiosity is super high. Listicles are fun. Your top 5 places to get a pizza, your top 5 places to get a margarita, and then you can tag those businesses in it. History ofs are really fun. It's talked about the history of your niche, of your business, of, how you got to where you are. Plan your calendar ahead of time, and then also talk about your customers' pain points. You guys can post about that. That works really well. And that'll actually increase the number of DMs that you get. So make sure you guys are doing that too. So as a result, we get a steady stream of leads daily coming in through our DMs, and not just leads, but people that want to work here. So if you guys are having problems recruiting, social media is an amazing place to find talent. We've gotten more referrals as a result. Our messaging stays fresh and consistent. If something changes in your business, you can update people real time. We've launched our PR site. We've rebranded from a video production company into a PR and branding company with a video production company as an aspect of the business. But that's been really powerful, because now people are like, okay, we really like that. And it just keeps you up to date. So, case study, William, we work with him on work injury rights. Hated creating content at first, was unclear about the ROI. And you guys are probably still, you guys are probably thinking about that too. Like, does it have to be me? What is my ROI going to be on this stuff? How long is it going to take? And once you start doing this, and the reason why I preach making sure that you're figuring out what that one thing is and what you're passionate about, that is going to make it achievable long term. It's really going to keep you in it longer. Because if you're doing something just for the money's sake, it's just not powerful enough. But if you're passionate about it and you stay passionate, you can do this for years, which is fortunately or unfortunately, however you think about it, is part of your business now. If you're in business, you have to be putting out personal brand content. That's just the way it goes. It's how it's going to happen from here on out. If you're not on that train, you need to get on that train today. Otherwise, you're going to get left behind. It's just the way it goes. More and more people are noticing that. And that's why our business is growing as quickly as it is because people are now starting to understand that they can't just have a business and that they have to post about their business. They have to post about the person running the business. That's who people care about watching. That's who they care about following. That's the engagement. That's the resonance. That's what's going to get you more eyeballs. It's what's going to get you more business. So you have to work on your personal brand, unfortunately or fortunately. So the story of Rockefeller, I'll leave you with this, is basically there was a guy back in the day that asked Rockefeller for $100,000 in a loan. And Rockefeller said, no, I'm not going to do that. But what I am going to do is I'm going to walk up and down the stock exchange with my arm around you. And by the end of the day, everybody's going to want to give you their money. So here's what I want you to think about. I want you to write down a list of 100 people who, if you got in contact with them, they could open up their network to you by like the thousands, right? That if they like your business and that they put it on their social media, all of a sudden you have 10x the number of leads and clients coming through. Those are the people that I want you to think about bringing onto your podcast. Now, I know you're probably thinking, I don't have the clout yet. Who am I to invite them? But I think you're thinking about it incorrectly. I want you to think about you're giving them an opportunity to talk about themselves and that you are going to interview them on how they became successful. And you're going to record it, right? So that they can use it on their social media and that you can use it on your social media. It's a win-win situation, right? You may not get these people at first, which is why I would recommend bringing friends and people you've worked with, colleagues, past clients. Bring those people in to warm up your podcast till about 20, 25 episodes. And then once you have 25 and you have your feet underneath you as an interviewer and as a podcaster, then we can roll into bringing in these higher caliber people. And that's when you're going to start seeing exponential results. So here's my offer for today, guys. I call it the Content into Client Starter Pack. So I told you we're going to do a 7-day challenge. So if you sign up today, and it's super cheap, it's $20, you'll have access to the 7-day challenge. You'll have access to the Facebook group. I'm going to send you this webinar slide deck. I'm going to send you the How to Pick a Profitable Niche workbook, how to choose your brand colors workbook, and then the customer journey mapping worksheet that you need. And then if you email us, I also have a cool offer for you. So up in that curiosity factor there, but it's $20 and I'm going to send you the link, super easy. And that is my webinar. I'm going to stop sharing here and I'm going to put it in the chat, the link, and I'm going to open it up to Q&A. Allison, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
I can. How are you?
Good. How are you doing? Hey,
Fantastic.
so I just wanted to really just say thank you for all the insights and everything that you're bringing right now. I know I messaged you the other day on LinkedIn after listening to the podcast that you were recently or were on last year, and like this information is definitely invaluable.
Thanks.
So really appreciate all the everything that you're bringing to the table and all the little nuggets and everything. And
You got it. I appreciate you. Did you have any questions? I appreciate the words.
No questions, but
Okay.
just thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. Anyone else? Questions?
Do you want to make sure you let everybody know that the full webinar will be sent to them? They'll get a copy of this emailed
Sure.
to them, and all the additional information that you're talking about as far as the starter pack and everything, all that'll be emailed to everybody. So if you want to take a little time to look it over, we'll be sending that to you guys after the webinar is over.
Yeah. Any other questions out in the public?
So, hey, I got a question, Armando. People
Yeah.
often ask us, like, and you may have missed this, you may have covered it, but how long does it typically take for a podcast to kind of find its legs? Not necessarily an audience, but to just kind of get that rhythm going and to kind of, build it into something that's real and legit.
I think I think it takes about to really have it under you and like comfortable could take between 20 and 25. Depends on who you are, right? Like reason why we work with a lot of attorneys is because they have the gift of gab. So it might be a lot easier for you if you have the gift of gab. But think about this too. It's like as the podcast host, you're not necessarily talking. You're just asking the questions and you're giving them the opportunity to answer questions and to show their expertise. So I would say 20, 20, 25, 20 to 25 to get your legs underneath you. However, as far as ROI is concerned, can happen like in the first podcast. I'll give you an example. We brought a podcast guest in for one of our clients, and one of them is a personal injury attorney. The other one is a workman's comp attorney. And we work for the workman's comp attorney. The client or the podcast guest said, "Hey, did you guys get your COVID tax credits for employees?" And they said, "No, we never applied." And he's like, "Well, why don't you let me help apply for you? And I probably can get you money back." And they ended up bringing in like 80,000. So, which helped pay for us for months, right? And I was like, do you see the power? So it can happen, right? Like the relationships that you can create quickly as a result of bringing somebody on your podcast can be exponential. So
Another question we get a lot is from people is it's I guess it's not really a question, but it's kind of a barrier that people will put up to us when we're talking about producing podcasts for them. They're like, why would anybody want to come on my podcast? What is what do we find as far as success rate for getting guests to come on someone's podcast who hasn't had them? It's not established, right? It's their first or second episode, and we're reaching out to people to bring on guests. What's the reaction that we see reaching out to people to be guests on shows?
highly favorable. People love it. Like if you ask them to be on your podcast, people are like super excited. So yeah, as like for the most part. Now, if you have somebody that's super introverted, maybe not. So think about the person that is a business owner, is successful, has an opinion, has a perspective, has something to say. That person should be on your podcast, and they will gladly come on and talk about what they do and how they help and the whole nine. So yeah, super super favorable.
And if someone wants to start one on their own without, hiring a company, I mean, obviously we'd love for them to hire us to produce their podcast. But if they want to start it on their own, like what are the basics that you need to start a podcast, equipment wise, like gear wise? What's the rough estimate on like an investment to get something going?
If you're just starting out, just get a Zoom, right? And use your laptop computer and use that. That was my first podcast. I used a Zoom. We were on a Zoom call. I recorded it, and that was the first podcast. So don't overthink it. I think too many people are like, "Oh, it's got to be perfect," and blah blah blah. Like it's your first podcast. Don't worry about it. Nobody's gonna watch it anyway. Like nobody's gonna. You and the person you're doing it with are gonna watch that podcast, right? So if that's the case, then be free to know that you are free to create. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just get it done, right? And just try to get as many of them done as possible, and then you can work on perfecting it and making it pretty later.
What is the strategy for the organic social as far as coming up with like Q&A to have someone ask you as the person who owns the business or person who's building that personal brand? Where are those questions typically coming from?
So first thing, right, you want to think about that one thing, right? What are you passionate about? What do you want to talk about? What can you talk about at length? not just, one word answers, but like you can just, oh man, I can pontificate on this. And then put that into ChatGPT and let ChatGPT come up with, 30, 40, 50 questions for you. And then you can use your phone, super easy, use your phone and record yourself or have one of your friends record you answering the question. It's really that simple these days. And just, hey, so-and-so, what do you think about this? Or what do you think the future of this is going to be? Or what do you think, blah, 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 blah. And then you just record it, put it out, done. Yes, Allison.
Hey, Armando, I had a quick question. I know whenever I was listening to your podcast, or it's the podcast you were on as a guest, you were talking about a an app called Wallexy to be able to
Yes.
reach out to those target audiences. Do you still utilize that in trying to get the target audiences for you and your clients?
We use several tools. I mean, yeah, you can definitely use Wallexy for LinkedIn. Because that's an easy way to contact a bunch of people at the same time. And you can do a email nurture sequence with it. There like for us, Super Lawyers is a good website because it just whatever attorney you're looking for in whatever state and whatever city with the practice that they practice, it's all right there, and their information is all right there. So they're super easy to find. I'm sure that there's other directories out there per niche, like in the real estate space or in the plastic surgeon space or all of that. So yeah, it's super easy to find and super easy to use.
What do you say to
Awesome.
people who?
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Yeah, of course. What do you say to people who when they come in, they're all about selling and ROI, like immediate ROI, and like how is this affecting my ROI? How is this going to help me sell my products? What's the response to those questions?
So the response to those questions is that is secondary. It is secondary, not that we ignore it, right? It's just not the priority when it comes to what we're trying to build first, right? Because like I said, if you're just thinking about the money and you're not necessarily thinking about the helping and you're not necessarily thinking about the impact and long term, what does it look like and what's your vision for like 10 years from now? If you don't have those questions answered, it's all surface level, and people can feel surface level at all times. So first things first is that, and even when I'm talking to a prospect for the first time, I'm not going into a sale. I'm going into, who are you? What do you like? What's your one thing? What lights you up? Or do we even if we're a good match, are we going to want to work together? You know what I mean? Like, are we a good fit? Now that, when you start thinking about in those terms of like, who do you want to attract as an ideal client, not just within your niche, and not because you need to make money and you want everything. It's like, man, my time is valuable. I want to work with and be with people that fill me up, that are positive people, that, you know, that I really want to spend my time with. And when you think about it in those terms, it makes it a lot easier to answer those questions. Because now when we have a conversation like with Allison, I would go, Allison, what lights you up? What do you, I get it. You have a videography company, you do content marketing. That's awesome. Right. But who are you? Are you married? Do you have kids? Do you like to travel? How do you spend your free time? You can tell a lot about a person on how they spend their free time. Are they gamers? Do they like to travel? Do you like to go to restaurants? Do they like to be active? Do they like to go hiking? Do you like to go music? You know what I mean? Like there's so many different things. And if you guys ask those questions in the sales process, man, you can get to these moments, not because part of the sales process is building rapport, right? Like you got to build rapport first. That's the first thing you need to do. And people are just kind of going down this checklist. And I'm like, screw the checklist. Who are you? Before we get into this, man, like, who are you? Are we, we may have the same backstory. You're an actor. Holy shit, I'm an actor. You're Army brat. I'm me too. Where were you? Oh, I was in Germany. Me too. You know, like you don't know what you don't know, right? And so I always work on connection first. And then the secondary stuff is like, look, this is how we help. Do you have this problem? Do you have a pain for it? If it works, great. This is how much we cost. Awesome. And I make deals all day like that. And if I don't, because it doesn't fit, then it doesn't fit. And that's cool too. I'm not trying to make everybody my client.
All right, last question with regards to the customer journey stuff. Can you talk a little bit about the implementation once you map out the customer journey, once we for a client, once the videos are shot, how do you implement those videos into a customer journey process for a business?
So we use Go High Level. Some people use HubSpot. Some people use Keep. It's our CRM. What we do is we have all of these videos already in Google Drive. I save them to my phone in case I want to text somebody. I sent Richard Jaffe the Leduc Farms video yesterday, and he loved it. So, but like, you know, those videos that just kind of tell them about the process, I send them in an email and I send them in a text message. And it's just super easy. And in Go High Level, that's what we use. There's a pipeline where you can send people on down the road, right? Oh, okay, they're here now. Okay, 2 days later, we send them this video. 2 days later, we send them this video. And so it makes it super easy. So I would definitely get a CRM that's super easy to use so that you can input those touch points and the videos super easy. We put them into YouTube, and then we just link these videos. And the engagement's a lot higher when you send a video through an email than it is just a text, right? And it's super informative, and they see your face, you stay top of mind. It just reinforces that messaging.
Cool.
Sweet. I'm going to stop the record.